At exactly 12:43 a.m., a billionaire scrubbed toilets in his own building, while his company sat 17 minutes away from catastrophic system failure, and nobody knew either thing was true. Adrian Vale had spent 3 years invisible, blamed for a disaster he didn't cause, raising a child alone while the man who destroyed him collected promotions. Tonight, the same corrupted code that ended his career just went live again, and the only person who noticed was a maintenance worker everyone ignored. This is their story. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale travels. The security guard didn't look up. Adrian Vale pushed his cleaning cart past the marble reception desk at 12:43 a.m., wheels squeaking against polished floor, and the guard, Marcus, 22, college dropout, good kid, kept scrolling through his phone. Same as every night. The lobby of Vale Systems headquarters stretched 40 feet overhead, all glass and steel, and that particular kind of silence that comes with emptiness and money. Rain hammered the windows. Seattle in October, constant and cold. Adrian wore the uniform well. Navy blue coveralls, name tag that said Andy, scuffed work boots he'd bought at a Goodwill 3 years ago. He'd gotten good at this. The posture, the pace, the way you move through a space when you're meant to be furniture. People see what they expect. They expect janitors at midnight. They don't expect the founder and former CEO of a $7 billion tech company emptying trash cans on the 14th floor. He took the service elevator up. It smelled like bleach and someone's leftover Chinese food. The cart rattled. Inside the supply bin, under the spray bottles and paper towels, his tablet sat wrapped in a cleaning rag. He'd check it once he reached the upper floors. System reports. Traffic logs. The things he still tracked because you don't build something from nothing and then stop caring just because they erased your name from the lobby wall. The elevator groaned. Adrian closed his eyes. Somewhere 16 blocks away, his daughter Mira was asleep in their apartment. The small one, not the penthouse he used to own, curled up with that stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 2. She was 7 now. She knew her dad worked nights. She didn't know he owned the building he cleaned. She didn't need to know. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The doors opened on 14. Empty cubicles stretched out in neat rows, computers asleep, desk plants half dead. He started with the break room. Coffee grounds in the sink, someone's birthday cake collapsing in the fridge. He cleaned it the way he cleaned everything, methodically, completely. It wasn't about the work. It was about the access, about being here when no one watched, about seeing what happened in the bones of his company when the performance stopped. He moved through the floor, vacuumed, emptied bins, wiped down surfaces, and listened. Not with his ears, with his instincts. You learn things when you built a system from scratch. You feel when something's off, the same way you feel a fever coming before the thermometer proves it. Tonight, something felt wrong. He couldn't place it yet, just a tightness in his chest, a static in his brain. He finished 14 and moved to 16. Executive row. Bigger offices. Heavier doors. Photos of families and diplomas from schools that mattered. Leon Carter's office sat at the corner, senior VP of engineering now, the man who'd taken Adrian's design 3 years ago and stripped out every safety protocol to hit a launch deadline, then blamed Adrian when it failed spectacularly during a live demo in front of investors and journalists and everyone who mattered. Adrian stood in the doorway of Leon's office and looked at the man's desk. Clean. Organized. A photo of Leon shaking hands with the current CEO. Another of Leon at some charity gala. Black tie, champagne glass raised. Adrian felt nothing looking at it. He'd burned through the anger 2 years ago. What remained was colder, patience, precision. The truth would surface, eventually. He just had to stay close enough to see it when it did. He cleaned the office, dusted the shelves, emptied the trash, mostly printed emails, expense reports, a crumpled napkin with a phone number. He didn't read them. That wasn't why he was here. He finished and moved on. 23rd floor, 27th, 31st. At 1:47 a.m., he reached the 32nd floor. Server operations, climate-controlled, restricted access. He had a key card. Janitors needed one. Nobody questioned it. And he scanned in. The air shifted immediately, cooler. The hum of machines. rows of server racks stretching back into fluorescent shadow. This was the heart of Veil Systems, the infrastructure that handled data processing for 11,000 corporate clients across 4 continents. He pulled out his tablet. Routine check. System health. Traffic patterns. Patch deployments. He scrolled through logs while his cart sat abandoned by the door. Everything looked standard. Normal bandwidth, scheduled maintenance windows, a firmware update pushed at 6 p.m., another at 9:30 p.m. Then he saw it. Patch deployment, a V17. Status, active authorization, L. Carter. Timestamp 23:18. Adrian's hand stopped moving. A V17. His breath went shallow. The tablet screen blurred. He blinked hard and read it again. A V17 wasn't supposed to exist anymore. It had been shelved, archived, buried under 3 years of new code and updated protocols. It was the patch, his patch, that Leon had pushed live without the safety architecture, without the validation layers, without any of the protections Adrian had built into the original design. The patch that had crashed during the investor summit in front of 200 people. The patch that had been blamed for a $40 million stock drop and 18 months of rebuilding trust. The patch that ended Adrian Veil's career, and now someone had deployed it again. Tonight, less than 2 hours ago. He scrolled deeper. The deployment log showed it live across primary systems. Active, running, integrated into the core processing pipeline. A system demonstration was scheduled for 9 a.m., 7 hours from now, with clients flying in from Singapore, London, Boston. Major contracts on the line. Press coverage. The board would be watching. Adrian's pulse hammered in his ears. This wasn't an accident. You don't accidentally deploy deprecated code into a live environment hours before a critical demo. Someone did this on purpose. Someone who either didn't know what AV-17 was or knew exactly what it was and wanted to watch it fail again. He pulled up the patch details. His fingers moved fast, muscle memory from years of writing this code himself. The architecture loaded on screen. He scanned it, and his stomach dropped. The safety layers were gone. Again. The same gutting Leon had done 3 years ago. Validation checks removed, failover protocols stripped out, error handling reduced to nothing. It was the compromised version, the version that would run fine for a few hours, maybe less, and then cascade into failure when transaction load hit a certain threshold, which would happen right around 9 a.m. when the demo started processing test data at scale. Adrian stood in the cold hum of the server room and felt the weight of it settle on him like a hand around his throat. If this failed the same way, Veil Systems wouldn't survive it. Not again. The company had barely recovered from the first disaster. A second one would gut investor confidence, kill contracts, bleed talent. The board would dismantle everything. And Mira's future, the trust fund he'd set up, the shares still in her name, the college savings built from stock options, would evaporate. He had to stop this. He had to pull the patch. Roll back. Now. But he couldn't, because Andy the janitor didn't have system access. Andy didn't have admin credentials. Andy couldn't authorize a goddamn thing. And Adrian Veil, the man who built this company, was legally and publicly exiled from any operational role per the settlement agreement he'd signed to avoid a protracted legal war that would have destroyed him and left Mira with nothing. He stood there, helpless, staring at the screen. Then the door behind him opened. Adrian's head snapped up. He turned, tablet still in hand, caught. A woman stood in the doorway. 30, maybe. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Coveralls similar to his, but gray instead of blue. Maintenance division. He'd seen her before, passing in hallways, restocking supplies, always moving quietly. She carried a toolbox in one hand and a clipboard in the other. She looked at him, then at the tablet, then back at him. Neither of them moved. "You're not supposed to be in here," she said. Her voice was flat, careful. "Cleaning," Adrian said. He slipped the tablet back into his cart, smooth, casual. "Just finishing up?" "With a tablet." "Checklist." He nodded toward the cart. "Digital now. They upgraded the system." She didn't buy it. He could see it in her eyes. She was deciding something, whether to call it in, whether to ignore it, whether to ask questions. "You always clean the server room at 2 in the morning?" she asked. You always run maintenance at 2 in the morning? Yeah, she said. I do. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. She set the toolbox down and looked around the room like she was checking something. Then she pulled out her own tablet, smaller, older, screen cracked at one corner, and started scrolling. Adrian watched her. She moved to one of the server racks, checked something, frowned, scrolled again. Her frown deepened. What are you looking for? Adrian asked. She didn't answer right away. She tapped something on her screen, read. Then she looked at him. You see the deployment at 2318? She asked. Adrian went still. What? The patch. A V17. You were looking at it, weren't you? He could lie, probably should, but something in the way she asked, the directness, the lack of performance, made him pause. Yeah, he said. I saw it. She nodded. Like that confirmed something. It's wrong. What do you mean? The implementation. It's missing safeguards. I ran a diagnostic 15 minutes ago because the temperature spiked in rack 7. Not much. 0.3 degrees. But it spiked. So I checked the logs. She held up her tablet. This patch is running without buffer validation, without load balancing, without anything that would keep it stable under pressure. Adrian stared at her. How do you know that? Because I can read code. You're maintenance. I'm a lot of things. She looked at him. Who are you? I told you, cleaning crew. Bullshit. Cleaning crew doesn't pull system logs at 2 in the morning. Adrian hesitated. The smart move was to walk away, say nothing, let it go. But if she saw what he saw, if she understood what was coming, then maybe she could do something he couldn't. My name's Andy, he said. I work nights. And yeah, I was looking at the patch because I used to do this kind of work before I ended up here. What kind of work? Systems architecture. She studied him. He could see her thinking, processing. You're the one who wrote a V17. It wasn't a question. Adrian's chest tightened. How do you know that? Because I've read it, the original, before it got butchered. She gestured at the servers around them. I studied this system when I was in school. Veil Systems was the case study. The design was elegant, modular, safe. Then someone fucked it up and blamed the guy who built it. She looked at him. That was you. Adrian didn't answer. She nodded slowly. Okay. So you're here because you never really left. Something like that. And now the same patch is live again, stripped down the same way, and it's going to fail the same way unless someone stops it. Yeah? Can you stop it? No, Adrian said quietly. I don't have access. Then who does? System admins, senior engineers, VP level authorization. She absorbed that. Then she looked down at her tablet, scrolled, stopped. There's an override. What? Maintenance override. If there's a critical infrastructure risk, maintenance supervisors can trigger a safety lockdown. It shuts down active deployments until engineering reviews them. She looked up. I have that access. Adrian's heart kicked. You're a supervisor? No, but my login has the clearance. Long story. He stepped closer. If you trigger that, people will ask questions. Yeah. You could lose your job. Yeah. Why would you risk that? She looked at him for a long moment. The hum of the servers filled the silence between them. Because I've been invisible my whole life, she said, and I'm tired of watching things break when I know how to fix them. She turned back to her tablet, started typing. Adrian watched her fingers move across the screen, fast, certain. She navigated through menus he recognized, security protocols he'd designed years ago. She entered her credentials. A warning popped up. She dismissed it. Wait, Adrian said. If you do this, they'll trace it back to you. I know. They'll come after you. Let them. She hit the final command. The room shifted. Not physically, but the sound changed. The hum softened. Status lights on the server racks blinked from green to amber. On her screen, a notification appeared. Maintenance override active, all active deployments, suspended engineering review required. She lowered the tablet, looked at him. It's done, she said. Adrian didn't move. He felt like the floor had tilted. This woman, this stranger he'd passed in hallways and never spoken to, had just saved his company. Maybe saved everything. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lena," she said. "Lena Brooks." "Lena, they're going to come looking for you in about 3 hours when engineering finds out what happened." "I know." "You need to have a reason, a story." "I have a reason," she said. "The system was at risk. I followed protocol. They won't care. They'll say you overstepped, that you're not qualified to make that call." She smiled. It was small and tired and carried the weight of 1,000 smaller fights. "I've been underqualified my whole life, Andy, or whoever you are. I'm used to it." She picked up her toolbox, headed for the door. "Lena," Adrian called. She stopped, turned. "Thank you," he said. She looked at him for a moment, then nodded. "Don't thank me yet. This just bought us time. Someone still has to fix the actual problem." She left. The door closed. Adrian stood alone in the server room, surrounded by machines that held the future of everything he'd built, everything he'd lost, everything he was trying to protect. And for the first time in 3 years, he felt something he hadn't let himself feel. Hope. Well, at 6:47 a.m., the emails started. Adrian was home by then. Small apartment, 2 bedrooms. Mira still asleep. He'd showered, changed into jeans and a sweater, made coffee he didn't drink. His tablet sat on the kitchen counter, notifications piling up. He wasn't supposed to have access to company emails anymore, but he'd never quite deleted his old credentials from the backup systems. A ghost account, read-only, invisible. Now he watched the chaos unfold in real time. From System Operations, Subject, Emergency, Deployment. Suspended from Engineering, Lead. Subject, Who authorized maintenance override? From Leon Carter. Subject, All hands, server room incident. He opened Leon's email. Team, we have a situation. At 2:14 this morning, an unauthorized maintenance override was triggered, suspending all active deployments, including critical patches scheduled for today's client demonstration. This override was executed by Lena Brooks, Facilities Maintenance, who does not have the authority or technical understanding to make this call. I need engineering, security, and HR in my office at 8 a.m. This kind of reckless behavior cannot stand. We have 7 hours to resolve this before clients arrive. LC. Adrian read it twice. His jaw tightened. Unauthorized, reckless, does not have the authority or technical understanding. The same words they'd used on him 3 years ago. He opened another email. This one from security, timestamped 6:52 a.m. Lena Brooks has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. She is not to access company systems or facilities until further notice. Security footage and system logs are being reviewed. Adrian set the tablet down. His hands were shaking. They were doing it again. The same playbook. Blame the person who noticed the problem. Bury the actual issue. Protect the people who created the mess. And in 7 hours, when the demo started and the unpatched system crashed spectacularly, they'd blame Lena for that too, for stopping the deployment, for interfering, for being in a room she wasn't supposed to understand. He looked at the clock. 6:54 a.m. Mira would wake up in an hour. He'd make her breakfast, walk her to school, come home, go to work tonight, stay invisible, stay safe. That was the plan. That was survival. But survival wasn't enough anymore. He picked up his phone, scrolled through contacts he hadn't called in 3 years, found one name, Jessica Rahman, board member. He hesitated. If he made this call, it would break the silence he'd kept. It would surface questions, risk exposure. But if he didn't, Lena would burn for saving them all. He hit call. It rang 4 times. Then a voice, sharp and awake despite the hour. "This is Rahman. Jessica, it's Adrian Vale." Silence. Long enough that he thought she might hang up. "Adrian," she said finally, "it's been a while." "I know. I need you to listen. Something's happening at the company, something bad, and they're about to destroy someone who doesn't deserve it." "I'm listening." He told her. All of it. The patch. The deployment. Lena's override. The demo scheduled for 9 a.m. The fact that without Lena's intervention, the system would fail in front of clients and press and everyone who mattered. When he finished, Jessica was quiet. "You've been watching," she said, "this whole time." Yeah. From inside the building. Yeah. As a janitor. It was the only way to stay close without breaking the settlement. Another pause. Then, Adrian, if what you're saying is true, we have a serious problem, but I need proof. I can't walk into a board meeting with a story from a guy who's been out of the loop for 3 years. The logs are proof. Pull the original AV-17 design. Compare it to what was deployed last night. You'll see it's been stripped down, same as before. And the woman, Lena Brooks. You trust her? I watched her risk everything to stop a disaster she had no stake in. Yeah, I trust her. Jessica sighed. Okay, I'll make some calls. But Adrian, if this blows up, if you're wrong, it's going to land on both of us. I'm not wrong. We'll see. Stay available. She hung up. Adrian set the phone down. His coffee had gone cold. Outside, rain still fell. Seattle, constant and indifferent. He heard footsteps. Small ones. Mira appeared in the kitchen doorway, rabbit tucked under one arm, hair a mess. Morning, Bug, he said. You're up early, she said. Couldn't sleep. She climbed onto the chair next to him, looked at his face. You okay? He smiled. It felt fragile. Yeah, just thinking about work. The cleaning work? Something like that? She leaned against him. He put his arm around her. For a moment, the noise in his head quieted. Whatever happened next, he'd make sure she was okay. That was the only thing that mattered. Everything else was just details. But at 8 a.m., Lena Brooks sat in a conference room on the 31st floor, alone. They'd called her at 7:15 a.m. Told her to come in. Didn't say why, but she knew. She'd known the moment she triggered the override. You don't stop a deployment at a company like Veil Systems without consequences. She'd dressed carefully. Clean jeans, a plain black shirt, her work boots, because she didn't own anything else. She'd pulled her hair back. No makeup, no performance. Just herself. The conference room had glass walls. She could see people walking past, staring, whispering. She didn't look away. Let them stare. The door opened. 3 people entered. Leon Carter, 50-something, expensive suit, smile that didn't reach his eyes. A woman from HR. Miranda something. Clipboard, neutral expression. A man from security, young, uncomfortable. They sat across from her. Leon folded his hands on the table. Ms. Brooks, he said, thank you for coming in. Didn't seem like a request, Lena said. Leon's smile thinned. We need to discuss what happened last night. You triggered a maintenance override at 2:14 a.m., suspending multiple system deployments. Can you explain why you did that? System risk, Lena said. Temperature anomaly in Rack 7. I ran diagnostics and found an unsafe deployment. I followed protocol. Unsafe, Leon repeated. Based on what assessment? Based on the patch missing critical safety architecture, validation buffers, load balancing, error handling. It was going to fail. And you determined this how? By reading the code. Leon leaned back. Ms. Brooks, you're a maintenance worker. Your job is to replace air filters and reset circuit breakers. You don't have the training or authority to assess system architecture. I have a degree in computer science from University of Washington, Lena said quietly. I worked in systems development for 4 years before the market crashed and I couldn't find work. I've been doing maintenance for 3 years because it pays rent. But I still know how to read code. The HR woman made a note. Leon's expression didn't change. Even if that's true, he said, you don't have the clearance to make operational decisions. That override was unauthorized. Maintenance supervisors have that clearance for infrastructure risks. You're not a supervisor. My login has supervisor-level access. Check the system. Leon glanced at the security officer. The man looked uncomfortable. She's right. Her account has elevated permissions. It's unusual, but it's in the system. Leon's jaw tightened. Regardless, you overstepped. You interfered with a scheduled deployment hours before a critical demonstration. Do you understand the damage you could have caused? Lena looked at him, really looked at him. She'd seen men like Leon her whole life, men who believed authority came from titles instead of understanding, men who mistook confidence for competence. The damage I could have caused, she said slowly, or the damage I prevented? Excuse me? That patch was going to crash. You know it. I know it. Anyone who actually looked at the code knows it. I stopped it before it failed in front of your clients. That's speculation. It's fact. Pull the logs. Compare the deployed version to the original design. You'll see someone stripped out the safety protocols. Leon stood up. The meeting was over. Ms. Brooks, you're on administrative leave effective immediately. You'll be contacted regarding next steps. Security will escort you out. Lena didn't move. Who deployed that patch? That's not your concern. It was you, wasn't it? You authorized AV-17, the same patch that failed 3 years ago. The room went very quiet. Leon's face hardened. You need to leave. Now. Why is it back? Why would you deploy deprecated code hours before a demo unless you wanted security? Leon snapped. The young officer stood, looked at Lena. Ma'am, I need you to come with me. Lena stood slowly, looked at Leon one more time. You're going to blame me for this, just like you blamed Adrian Vale. Same pattern, same lie. Leon's expression flickered, just for a second, then it smoothed over. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. But he did. She could see it. Security walked her to the elevator, through the lobby, out the front doors. Rain had started again. She stood on the sidewalk and felt the weight of it. Unemployed. Again. Blacklisted, probably. She'd saved the company and they'd kicked her out. Story of her life. She started walking. Didn't know where. Just away. Behind her, inside the building, alarms started going off. The alarms weren't loud, just insistent. A steady pulse that cut through the ambient noise of Vale Systems' main operations floor like a heartbeat gone wrong. Adrian heard them from the parking garage where he sat in his 10-year-old Honda, 3 levels below ground, engine off, phone pressed to his ear. Jessica Rahman was talking, but he'd stopped listening 30 seconds ago because that sound, that specific rhythm, meant something had gone critical. Adrian, are you there? I have to go, he said. Wait, I just told you the board wants a meeting at 10. You need to... I'll call you back. He hung up, got out of the car, moved toward the stairwell. His badge, the janitor one, Andy's badge, wouldn't get him past the lobby during business hours. But the loading dock entrance had a blind spot in the camera coverage. He'd mapped it months ago. 30 seconds of exposure, then you were inside. He took the stairs 2 at a time. The alarms were louder in the stairwell. He pushed through the door on the ground level, slipped past a delivery driver arguing with a supervisor about a damaged shipment, and made it to the service corridor. From there, it was muscle memory. Left at the electrical room, right past the custodial supply closet. Through the door marked authorized personnel only that nobody ever locked properly. He came out on the 2nd floor. The alarms echoed off the walls. People were standing at their desks, confused, looking around like the answer might be written on the ceiling. Nobody was evacuating. That was good. It wasn't a fire alarm or a security breach. This was something else. Adrian pulled out his phone, opened the Ghost account. Logs were updating in real time. System alert. Critical load. Threshold exceeded. System alert. Failover protocol offline. System alert. Primary cluster destabilizing. His stomach dropped. The demo. It had started early. Someone must have moved up the timeline, maybe to test the systems before clients arrived. And without Lena's override in place, without the safety checks, the patch was doing exactly what he knew it would do. It was failing. He started moving toward the server room, toward the center of the collapse. A security guard stepped in front of him at the elevator bank. Sir, you can't be up here right now. Maintenance, Adrian said, flashed the badge, kept walking. Sir, unless you want the whole building offline, get out of my way. The guard hesitated. Adrian didn't wait. He hit the stairs again. Up this time, floor by floor, his legs burned. The alarms kept going. At the 32nd floor, he pushed through the door and nearly ran into a cluster of engineers standing outside the server room, arguing. Revert to the backup cluster. Backup's not synced. We'll lose data. Should never have removed the override. Adrian slowed, caught his breath, tried to look like he belonged there. One of the engineers glanced at him, frowned, then turned back to the argument. Another alarm joined the chorus. Somewhere down the hall, someone shouted about database latency spiking. The server room door was propped open. Adrian could see inside. More engineers, laptops open, Screens everywhere showing graphs and error logs and cascading failures. In the center of it all stood Leon Carter, phone to his ear, face red. "I don't care what time zone they're in," Leon was saying. "Get Sharma on a call now. We have 7,000 clients about to lose connectivity, and I need solutions, not excuses." He hung up, looked around the room. His gaze landed on one of the younger engineers. "Did you roll back the patch?" "We tried. It's integrated too deep. We need to rebuild the validation layer manually." "How long?" 4 hours, maybe 5. We have 90 minutes. "Then we're not going to make it." Leon looked like he wanted to put his fist through a wall. Instead, he took a breath, smoothed his tie. "Okay, new plan. We delay the demo. Tell the clients we're running diagnostics. Push everything to this afternoon." "They flew in from 3 continents," someone said. "They're already in the building." "Then give them coffee and a tour." "I don't care. Just buy me time." Adrian stood in the doorway, invisible in his coveralls, watching the panic unfold. This was it. The moment he'd been waiting for. The proof. Leon had redeployed the corrupted patch, and now it was eating the system alive, exactly like it had 3 years ago. And just like before, Leon was scrambling to cover it up instead of fixing the root cause. But this time, Adrian couldn't just watch, because somewhere in this building, Lena was gone, kicked out, blamed. And these people were about to spend the next 4 hours rebuilding work she could probably do in 1. He pulled out his phone, texted Jessica. "It's happening. Server room, 32nd floor. Get someone from the board up here now." Her response came back in seconds. "On my way." "Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that." Adrian stepped into the server room. Leon saw him immediately. "Who the hell are you?" "Maintenance," Adrian said. Kept his voice flat. Forgettable. "We don't need maintenance. Get out. You've got a temperature spike in rack 7. Same thing that flagged the problem last night." Leon stared at him. "What?" "Rack 7, 0.3 degrees over baseline. It's what triggered the diagnostic that found your patch." One of the engineers looked up. "He's right. I'm seeing elevated temps in that sector." Leon's eyes narrowed. "How do you know that?" "Because I read the logs. You're a janitor." "Yeah, and you're a VP who just crashed a $7 billion system. We all have our talents." The room went silent. Every engineer stopped typing, stopped moving, just stared. Leon's face went dark. "Get him out of here." Nobody moved. "I said get him out. Wait!" One of the engineers stood up, a woman, mid-30s, short hair, glasses. Adrian recognized her vaguely. Senior developer, smart. She'd been here since before his exile. "Let him talk." "Martinez, this is not the time." "With respect, sir, we're 90 minutes from disaster, and this guy just diagnosed a hardware correlation none of us caught. I want to hear what he has to say." Leon looked like he was chewing glass, but he didn't argue. Martinez turned to Adrian. "You said you read the logs from last night?" "Yeah." "So you know what Lena Brooks found?" Adrian nodded. "The patch is missing its safety architecture, validation buffers, load balancing, error handling. It's running naked." "That's what she said too," Martinez said quietly. She looked at Leon. "Before you fired her." "She wasn't fired. She was placed on leave for overstepping her authority." "She was right, though." Martinez gestured at the chaos around them. "This is exactly what she said would happen." Leon's jaw worked. "We don't have time for this. Someone get engineering on rebuilding the validation layer." "I can do it faster," Adrian said. Everyone looked at him. "What?" Leon said. "The validation layer. I can rebuild it in under an hour, maybe less." "You're a janitor." "I wrote the original code." The silence that followed had weight, physical pressure. Martinez took off her glasses, cleaned them, put them back on. "What's your name?" Adrian hesitated. This was the cliff. Once he stepped off, there was no climbing back. "Andy Reeves," he said. "I used to work systems architecture. Before." "Before what?" "Before I couldn't find work anymore and ended up here." Martinez studied him. She was thinking. He could see it, running calculations. Then she made a decision. "Show me." She pulled up a terminal, stepped aside. Adrian moved to the keyboard. His hands hovered over it for just a second. 3 years since he'd written code in front of people. 3 years since he'd been anything other than invisible. He started typing. The muscle memory came back like breathing. His fingers knew the patterns, the syntax, the logic. He pulled up the patch code, scanned it, started building the validation layer back in, line by line, function by function. Around him, the engineers leaned closer, watching. He could feel their attention like heat. "Wait," one of them said. "That's not standard protocol structure." "No," Adrian said, still typing. "It's better, tighter, less overhead." "Where'd you learn to code like that?" "School, practice, 10,000 hours of doing it wrong until I figured out how to do it right." He kept going. The validation buffers went in first, then the load balancing algorithms, then the error handling cascades. The code built itself in layers, each one interlocking with the next. Clean, efficient, elegant. Martinez was reading over his shoulder. "This is really good." "It's functional." "No, I mean this is Veil-level architecture. Whoever taught you knew what they were doing." Adrian almost smiled. "Yeah, he did." 20 minutes in, the first error log stopped pulsing. 40 minutes in, the system load started dropping. At 53 minutes, the alarms cut off. The silence felt enormous. Adrian stepped back from the terminal. His hands were shaking slightly. He shoved them in his pockets. Martinez checked the monitors. "Load stabilizing, error rate dropping, failover protocols back online." She looked at Adrian. "It's working." One of the other engineers whistled low. "Who the hell are you?" Before Adrian could answer, the door opened. Jessica Rahman walked in, followed by two other board members Adrian recognized. She took in the scene, the engineers, the screens, Leon's furious expression, Adrian standing at the terminal in his coveralls. "Someone want to tell me what's happening?" Jessica said. Leon stepped forward. "We had a system issue. It's been resolved." "By your janitor?" "By my team." Jessica looked at Adrian. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding. She turned back to Leon. "I want a full report. Every log, every decision point, and I want to know why a patch that was suspended last night for safety concerns was redeployed this morning without board approval." Leon's expression went carefully blank. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The maintenance override, triggered by Lana Brooks at 2:14 a.m. It suspended AV-17 pending review. Who authorized putting it back online?" "That override was unauthorized. We had a scheduled deployment of a deprecated patch missing critical safety features," Jessica said. Her voice was level, but there was steel underneath. "The same patch that failed 3 years ago, the same architecture problems, and now the same crisis. That's not coincidence, Leon. That's a pattern." Leon looked at the other board members. "I don't appreciate the implication." "Then help me understand. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you deployed faulty code, blamed the person who caught it, and nearly crashed the company. Again." "That's absurd, is it?" Jessica pulled out her phone, scrolled. "I've been reading the archived reports from the Investor Summit incident. You authorized the deployment then too, over Adrian Vale's objections. And when it failed, you blamed him." The room had gone very still. Adrian could feel every engineer listening, absorbing, recontextualizing 3 years of company history. Leon straightened his tie. "Adrian Vale was the lead architect. He signed off on the deployment after you removed his safety protocols and told him the board had already approved it," Jessica said. "I've seen the emails, Leon, the real ones, not the edited versions you presented to the board." "I don't know what you think you found. I found the truth." She looked at Adrian. "And I think we owe someone an apology." Adrian shook his head. "I didn't do this for an apology." "Then why did you do it?" He thought about Mira, about 3 years of watching from the shadows, about Lena standing in this same room last night, risking everything because it was the right thing to do. "Because it needed to be done," he said. Jessica nodded slowly, then she looked at Leon. "You're suspended, effective immediately, pending a full investigation." Leon's face went white. "You can't do that." "I'm chair of the board. I just did. Security will escort you out." "This is insane. I've given 12 years to this company and almost destroyed it twice." Jessica's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. "Pack your office. You have an hour." Leon looked around the room, looking for support, for allies. The engineers avoided his gaze. He turned back to Jessica, opened his mouth, closed it. Then he walked out, spine rigid, footsteps echoing. When he was gone, Jessica exhaled, looked at Adrian. We need to talk, somewhere private. I have to pick up my daughter from school in 3 hours. This won't take that long. She led him to an empty conference room. The other board members followed. When the door closed, Jessica sat down heavily. Adrian, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning, what you've been doing, what you know, all of it. So he told her. The janitor job. The ghost access. The monitoring. Watching his company from the inside out, seeing the places where it had fractured, the decisions that didn't make sense, the pattern of Leon's rise built on other people's work and other people's blame. When he finished, one of the other board members, an older man, gray hair, expensive watch, shook his head. You've been here the whole time, cleaning toilets. Among other things. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Because the settlement agreement bans me from operational involvement. If I'd surfaced, you would have had legal grounds to void Mira's trust. I couldn't risk that. Jessica leaned back. So you stayed invisible? Yeah. And what about Lena Brooks? The gray-haired man asked. The woman who triggered the override. Where does she fit in this? She saw what I saw, Adrian said. But unlike me, she didn't have anything to lose by speaking up, so she did. And we fired her for it. You put her on leave. There's a difference. Not much of one. Jessica rubbed her eyes. We need to bring her back, officially, with an apology and a proper role. She won't come back, Adrian said. Not after this. How do you know? Because I wouldn't. Jessica was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at him, really looked at him. What do you want, Adrian? What do you mean? From this? From us? You saved the company. Again. You could have walked away. Let it burn. But you didn't. So what do you want? Adrian thought about it. About the years in the shadows. About Mira asking why he worked nights. About the hollow feeling of watching something you built become something you didn't recognize. I want it to be what it was supposed to be, he said. Before the lawyers and the politics and the performance, I want it to matter. That's not much of an ask. It's the only one I have. Jessica nodded, looked at the other board members. Some silent conversation passed between them. Then she turned back to Adrian. We want you back. Not in the shadows, not as Andy the janitor, as yourself, Chief Technology Officer, full operational authority, clean slate. Adrian's chest tightened. I can't. Why not? Because I have a daughter who needs stability, who needs a parent who comes home at normal hours and doesn't live in crisis mode. I can't give her that if I'm running this company. Then don't run it. Just fix it. Fix the things only you know how to fix. Let other people handle the rest. That's not how this works. It could be. Jessica leaned forward. Adrian, we're offering you a way back on your terms. Whatever you need to make it work, flexible hours, remote capabilities, support staff, we'll figure it out. But we need you, not just for this crisis, for all of it. He wanted to say yes. The word was right there. But he couldn't get it past the weight of everything that had happened. The betrayal, the exile, the 3 years of being erased. I need to think about it, he said. Fair enough, but think fast. We have a demo in 45 minutes and I'd like to tell our clients we have an actual CTO. She stood. The other board members followed. At the door, Jessica paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For how it went down before. For not fighting harder. You deserved better. Yeah, Adrian said. I did. She left. Adrian sat alone in the conference room and felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him. In his pocket, his phone buzzed, a text from Mira's school. Reminder, parent-teacher conference tomorrow at 4 p.m. He closed his eyes, breathed. Then he stood up and left the building. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was still gray but lighter. He walked to his car, got in, sat there for a long moment. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Yeah? Is this Andy? A woman's voice. Familiar, but he couldn't place it. Who's this? Lena Brooks. Adrian sat up straight. How'd you get this number? I saw you talking to the board member in the hall. Rahman, right? I looked her up. Found an old email chain from 3 years ago. You were CC'd. Put the pieces together. A pause. It's you, isn't it? Adrian Vale. No point lying. Yeah, I thought so. The way you looked at the code, the way you moved in that room. You weren't just some janitor who used to do this work. You were the guy who built it. Was is the right word. They offer you your job back yet? How did you? Because that's what they do. Crisis hits, they panic. They bring back the person who actually knows what they're doing. Then 6 months later, when everything's stable, they'll find a reason to push you out again. It's the cycle. Adrian was quiet. Because she was right. You calling to warn me off? He asked. No, I'm calling because I want to know what you're going to do. About what? About me. About what happened. About the fact that I'm currently unemployed because I stopped their disaster and they decided I was the problem. I told the board they need to bring you back. And what did they say? That they would, with an apology. Lena laughed. It was sharp, bitter. An apology. Right, that'll pay my rent. I'm serious. So am I. Adrian, I don't want their apology. I want them to admit they were wrong. I want Leon Carter's name in the same sentence as the word failure. And I want a job where I'm not invisible anymore. I can't promise any of that. Then what can you promise? He thought about it, about what he'd built, about what it had become, about what it could be if people like Lena, people who saw the truth and spoke it even when it cost them, had actual power instead of just proximity to it. If I go back, he said slowly, I'm going to need people I can trust, people who care about the work more than the politics, people who'll tell me when I'm wrong. You offering me a job? I'm saying if I take mine, there's one waiting for you. Real role, real authority. Not maintenance, not invisible. Silence on the line. Then, what's the role? I don't know yet. Whatever makes sense, whatever you're good at. I'm good at seeing what's broken and fixing it. Then that. Another pause. Why should I trust you? Because I've been where you are, blamed for telling the truth, erased for being right, and I'm tired of watching it happen to other people. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Okay. I'll think about it. But Adrian, if you go back there and you turn into one of them, if you start playing the game instead of changing it, I'm out. I don't care what the title is or what it pays. I'd rather be broke and honest than comfortable and compromised. Fair? Good. Call me when you decide. She hung up. Adrian sat in his car, phone still in his hand, and felt something shift in his chest. Not hope exactly, but possibility. The sense that maybe, for the first time in 3 years, he could build something that mattered. His phone buzzed again. Jessica. Demo went fine. Clients impressed. Need your answer by EOD. He looked at the message, then at the building, then at the picture of Mira on his dashboard, the one from her 6th birthday, cake on her face, smile so big it hurt to look at. He typed back, I'll do it. But on my terms. We need to talk. Her response came fast. Name the time. He checked the clock. 11:47 a.m. He had 3 hours before school pickup. 3 hours to figure out how to rebuild a company without losing himself in the process. He started the car and drove. The meeting happened in Jessica Rahman's office at 2:30, which gave Adrian exactly 90 minutes before he had to be at Mira's school. He'd changed clothes in the parking garage, kept a spare shirt and jacket in the trunk for emergencies, and walked back into Vail Systems through the front door for the first time in 3 years. The security guard at the desk looked up. Did a double take. Sir, do you have... He's with me, Jessica said. She'd been waiting in the lobby. Come on. They took the executive elevator, the one Adrian used to ride every day. The one with the mahogany paneling and the subtle scent of expensive air freshener. It felt wrong, like wearing someone else's clothes. You look uncomfortable, Jessica said. I am uncomfortable. Good. Means you haven't forgotten what this cost you. Her office was on the 41st floor. Corner view. Rain-streaked windows overlooking the city. She shut the door behind them and gestured to a chair. Adrian sat. She didn't. She stood by the window, arms crossed, looking out. I've been on the board for 8 years, she said. I've watched this company grow from 200 employees to 4,000. I've seen 3 CEOs come and go. And in all that time, the biggest mistake we made was letting Leon Carter convince us you were the problem. You didn't let him convince you. You chose to believe him. She turned. You're right. We did. Because it was easier than admitting we'd failed at oversight. Easier than acknowledging we'd let someone gut your work and call it progress. She sat down across from him. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to tell you we were wrong and to ask if you're willing to come back anyway. I already said I would. On your terms. What does that mean? Adrian leaned back. He'd been thinking about this for 3 hours. In the car, at the coffee shop where he'd sat with cold coffee and tried to work out what version of this he could live with. It means I'm not coming back as CTO, he said. Jessica blinked. What? I don't want the title, don't want the office, don't want to sit in board meetings and argue about quarterly projections. Then what do you want? I want to fix what's broken, the systems, the culture, the architecture. I want to build a team that actually cares about the work, and I want to do it without the performance. Adrian, we need someone in that role. Someone clients and investors can point to and say, that's the person keeping our data safe. Then hire someone good at that. Someone who likes the spotlight. I'm not that person anymore. Jessica rubbed her temple. Okay, so what role are you asking for? Chief architect, independent reporting line to the board, small team, full authority over technical decisions. And I work remote 3 days a week. That's not standard. I don't care. Investors will ask why our CTO isn't in the office. I just told you I'm not your CTO. Jessica stared at him. Then she laughed. It was sharp and surprised. You're serious? Yeah. You spent 3 years in exile and now you're negotiating less visibility. I spent 3 years learning what matters. It's not the title. It's the work. She was quiet for a moment, thinking. What about Lena Brooks? What about her? You said you wanted a team you could trust. Is she part of it? If she'll come back. In what role? I don't know yet. Let me talk to her first. Figure out what she's actually good at beyond reading code and having a spine. Jessica smiled. I like her. She doesn't perform. Neither do I. That's the point. Okay? Jessica stood, walked to her desk, pulled out a folder. Here's what I'm authorized to offer. Chief architect role. Base salary plus equity. Independent team, budget TBD. Remote work 3 days a week, and full authority to rebuild whatever you think needs rebuilding. She slid the folder across. Adrian opened it, scanned the numbers. They were generous. More than generous. The equity alone would set Mira up for life. There's a condition, Jessica said. What? You have to present to the board, monthly. Show us what you're doing, what you're finding, what needs to change. We're not giving you a blank check to disappear again. I wasn't disappearing. I was surviving. I know, but we need transparency. That's the deal. Adrian looked at the contract, at the numbers that would change everything, at the fine print that would pull him back into the world he'd spent 3 years avoiding. He thought about Mira, about school pickups and bedtime stories and the small apartment that was safe because it was simple. Then he thought about Lena, about the way she'd stood in that conference room this morning, small and steady, while Leon tried to erase her. He thought about the engineers watching him code, the way they'd leaned in, hungry for something real. I need to add something, he said. What? Lena comes back with full clearance and a real role. Not maintenance, not some token position, actual authority. I already said we'd bring her back. I want it in writing, in my contract, that her employment is tied to mine. If you push her out, I walk. Jessica raised an eyebrow. You're willing to bet your job on someone you barely know? I'm willing to bet my job on someone who did the right thing when it cost her everything. That's more than I can say for most people in this building. Jessica picked up a pen, made a note in the margin. Done. Anything else? Leon's investigation. I want access to the findings. All of it. That's confidential. Then make me part of the investigative team. If you're serious about fixing what's broken, you need to know how deep it goes, and I'm the only one who knows where to look. She considered that. Okay, but Adrian, if we find something criminal, if this goes beyond poor judgment, you have to let us handle it through proper channels. No vigilante justice. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking for the truth. Good. She held out her hand. We have a deal? Adrian looked at her hand, at the door behind her, at the rain streaking the windows. He shook her hand. Yeah, we have a deal. She smiled. Welcome back. He left her office at 3:15 p.m., took the elevator down, walked through the lobby. Marcus, the security guard, looked up this time, did a full stop. Mr. Vale? Adrian paused. Yeah. Welcome back, sir. Thanks, Marcus. He pushed through the doors into the afternoon. The rain had started again, light this time. He got to his car and sat behind the wheel and realized his hands were shaking. He'd done it. He'd stepped back into the light. Now he had to figure out if he could live there. His phone rang. Lena. Did you do it? She asked. Yeah. Idiot. Probably. What'd they offer you? Chief architect, independent team, remote flexibility, and a clause that says if you come back, they can't fire you without firing me too. Silence on the line. Then, you didn't. I did. Adrian, you don't even know me. I know enough. You know I stopped a system failure. That's it. I could be terrible at everything else. Are you? No, I'm good at what I do, but that's not the point. Then what is? She was quiet for a moment. Why are you doing this? Because 3 years ago, nobody stood up for me, and I'm not going to let that happen to someone else. He could hear her breathing on the other end, thinking. What's the role? She asked finally. I don't know yet. That's what I want to talk to you about. Can you meet me tomorrow? Where? Vale Systems, 10th floor. There's a conference room that's usually empty around 10 a.m. You want me to walk back into that building after they escorted me out this morning? Yeah. You're insane. Probably, but I'm also serious. 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll clear you with security. Another pause. Okay. But Adrian, if this is some kind of pity hire, if you're bringing me back just to make yourself feel better, I'll know. And I'll walk. It's not pity. It's strategy. I need people who see what's broken. You're one of them. We'll see. She hung up. Adrian sat in the parking garage and felt the weight of what he'd just committed to. A job he wasn't sure he wanted, a team he hadn't built yet, a woman he barely knew whose career was now tied to his. He checked the time. 3:27 p.m. He had 33 minutes to get to Mira's school. He started the car and drove. The school was across town. Traffic was light. He made it with 4 minutes to spare. Parked in the pickup line and watched kids stream out of the building, backpacks bouncing, voices high and chaotic. Mira appeared third from the door. She saw the car and waved. He waved back. She climbed in, buckled her seatbelt, looked at him. You're wearing your nice shirt, she said. Had a meeting. About the cleaning job? He hesitated. This was the moment. He could keep lying, keep it simple. Keep her safe from the parts of his life that were complicated and hard. Or he could tell her the truth. Not exactly, he said. I need to tell you something. She looked worried. Are you in trouble? No, the opposite, actually. He pulled out of the parking lot, headed toward home. You know how I've been working nights, cleaning? Yeah. Well, that was part of my job, but it wasn't the whole thing. What was the whole thing? I was watching, making sure the company I used to work for was okay. The computer company. Yeah, Vale Systems. I built it a long time ago, before you were born, and then some stuff happened and I had to leave, but I never stopped caring about it. Mira was quiet, processing. So you were like a spy. He almost laughed. Kind of, yeah. That's cool. It was also kind of lonely. Is that why you worked at night, so I wouldn't know? Partly. And partly because I wanted to make sure I was there for you during the day, for school and dinner and bedtime. She nodded. So what's different now? They asked me to come back, for real this time, not hiding, and I said yes. Does that mean you won't work nights anymore? Some nights I will, but not as many, and I'll be home more during the day. Okay. She looked out the window. Can I see it? See what? Your company, the one you built. Adrian felt something tighten in his chest. Yeah, I can take you there sometime. Tomorrow? I have a meeting tomorrow. Can I come? To the meeting? Yeah, I want to see what you do. He thought about it. About Lena walking into that conference room expecting a private conversation, about board members and engineers and the weight of professionalism. Then he thought about Mira sitting in the lobby for 3 years, waiting for him to finish his shift, never complaining, never asking why her dad cleaned toilets when other dads wore suits. "Okay," he said, "but you have to be quiet during the meeting." "I'm always quiet." "That's a lie." She grinned. "Can I bring my tablet?" "Yeah." "Then I'll be quiet." They got home. Adrian made dinner, pasta with butter and garlic, the way Mira liked it. She talked about school, about the science project she was working on, about a boy named Dylan who'd gotten sent to the principal's office for putting a frog in someone's backpack. Adrian listened, nodded in the right places, but his mind kept drifting to tomorrow, to Lena, to the conversation they needed to have. After Mira went to bed, he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and pulled up the archived files from the Investors Summit incident. Jessica had given him access as part of the investigation. He started reading. The first file was the deployment log from 3 years ago. He'd seen it before, lived through it. But reading it now, with distance and clarity, he could see the pattern. The timestamps didn't match. Leon's authorization had come through at 11:47 p.m. the night before the demo, but the safety protocols had been removed from the code at 6:23 p.m., hours earlier, which meant someone had stripped the protections before Leon officially approved anything. Adrian opened another file. Email chains. He scrolled through them, found one from Leon to a junior developer named Torres. "Make the changes we discussed. Remove the validation buffers and streamline the error handling. We need this leaner for tomorrow's demo." "I'll handle the approval," Torres had replied. "Are you sure? The original design has those buffers for a reason. If we remove them, the system could destabilize under load." Leon's response: "Veil's designs are overcomplicated. Trust me. This will run smoother without all the extra layers. Just make the changes." Adrian sat back, stared at the screen. Leon hadn't just gutted the patch on impulse. He'd done it deliberately, over objections, knowing the risk. And when it failed, he'd buried the emails and blamed Adrian for the design. The next file was the incident report, written by Leon, submitted to the board 3 days after the crash. The deployment failure resulted from fundamental architectural flaws in Adrian Veil's design. Despite warnings from the engineering team, Veil insisted on pushing the patch to production without adequate testing. The resulting system failure caused significant reputational damage and financial loss. I recommend immediate suspension of Veil's operational authority pending full review. It was a masterpiece of misdirection. Every sentence technically true, but missing the context that would tell the real story. The warnings had come from engineers, but they'd been warnings about Leon's changes, not Adrian's design. Adrian had pushed the patch, but only after Leon told him the board had approved it and the timeline was locked. Adrian opened the next file, found the board's response. "After careful review, we have determined that Adrian Veil's continued leadership poses an unacceptable risk to company stability. Effective immediately, Mr. Veil is suspended from all operational duties. A settlement agreement is being prepared to facilitate his departure. No investigation, no questions. Just acceptance of Leon's narrative and a quick exit." Adrian closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen, felt the old anger stirring. He'd thought he was past it, thought he'd burned through it and come out the other side. But reading those files, seeing the deliberate construction of the lie, he realized the anger had just been waiting. Quiet, patient. He took a breath, let it out slow. Revenge wasn't the goal, justice was. And justice meant exposing the pattern, showing the board that what happened to him wasn't an isolated incident, but a deliberate strategy, one that Leon had just tried to use on Lena. His phone buzzed, a text from Jessica. "Legal found something. Call me when you can." He looked at the clock. 10:47 p.m., late, but Jessica didn't text this late unless it mattered. He called. She answered on the first ring. "You're awake." "So are you." "I've been reading through Leon's communications, the ones our legal team pulled for the investigation." And there's a pattern. Over the last 3 years, every major technical decision that went wrong can be traced back to him. He strips out safety features, rushes deployments, and then blames the engineers when things fail. "How many engineers?" 7, including you, all of them pushed out quietly. Settlements with NDAs, no public record. Adrian's grip tightened on the phone.
He's been doing this for 3 years? Longer, probably. We only have access to recent files, but yeah, it's systematic. Why? Control, maybe, or ego. He doesn't like being questioned, doesn't like designs that are more complex than he can understand. So he simplifies them, breaks them, and eliminates anyone who calls him on it.
And the board never noticed? We noticed the failures. We didn't notice the pattern. That's on us. She paused. Adrian, this changes things. We're not just talking about one bad deployment. We're talking about potential fraud, sabotage, maybe even criminal negligence. What are you going to do? Present it to the full board, probably bring in outside investigators, and recommend Leon's termination for cause. Not suspension, termination. Yeah, Adrian was quiet. This was bigger than he'd expected, bigger than one man's vendetta. This was institutional failure, years of it. What do you need from me? He asked. Keep doing what you're doing, build your team, fix the systems, and if you find anything else in those archived files, flag it. I will. Good. Get some sleep, Adrian. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. She hung up. Adrian sat in the kitchen and listened to the silence. Somewhere down the hall, Mira was asleep. Safe. Unaware of the chaos about to unfold. He wanted to keep it that way, but he also wanted her to grow up in a world where telling the truth didn't get you erased, where doing the right thing didn't cost you everything, and that meant finishing what he'd started. He went to bed, didn't sleep much. At 6:30 a.m. he got up, made coffee, woke Mira. She complained about the early hour but perked up when he reminded her about coming to the office. They had breakfast, got dressed. By 8:15 they were in the car, heading downtown. Are you nervous? Mira asked. A little. Why? Because I'm about to ask someone I barely know to trust me, and I'm not sure she will. Is she nice? I think so, but nice isn't the same as trusting. What's her name? Lena. That's pretty. They parked in the garage, took the elevator up. The lobby was busy, people heading to meetings, grabbing coffee, living their professional lives. Adrian felt out of place in his jeans and jacket, but Mira didn't seem to notice. She looked around with wide eyes, taking it all in. This is big, she said. Yeah, we started in a space about the size of our apartment, just me and 2 other people. It grew. Did you build all of it? The systems, yeah. The building, no. That came later. They took the elevator to 10. The conference room was empty. Adrian set his bag down, pulled out his laptop. Mira sat in a chair by the window and opened her tablet. Remember, Adrian said. Quiet. I know. At 9:58, the door opened. Lena walked in. She stopped when she saw Mira. You brought your kid. This is Mira. Mira, this is Lena. Mira waved. Lena waved back, awkward. Is this appropriate? Lena asked. Probably not, but she wanted to see where I work. Lena sat down across from him. She was wearing jeans too, a plain gray sweater. Her hair was down this time. She looked tired. You look like you didn't sleep, Adrian said. I didn't. I spent all night trying to figure out if coming here was a mistake. What did you decide? That I'd find out when I got here. She glanced at Mira, then back at Adrian. So, what's the role? Adrian pulled up a document on his laptop, turned it so she could see. I don't have a title yet, but here's what I need. Someone who can audit the existing systems. Find the places where corners got cut, where safety got sacrificed for speed. Someone who can document it. Build the case for why we need to rebuild. Lena scanned the document. You're talking about gutting half the infrastructure. If that's what it needs, yeah. That's going to piss people off. I know. People with power. People who've been here longer than both of us. I know. She looked up. And you want me to be the one leading that effort? I want you to be the one I trust to do it right. Why? Because you already proved you will. When it mattered. Lena sat back, crossed her arms. What's the actual title? Senior Systems Analyst. Direct report to me. Full access to all technical documentation and deployment records. Authority to flag anything that doesn't meet standard. Salary? He told her. Her eyes widened slightly. That's more than I made in my last 3 jobs combined, she said. It's what the role is worth.
And if I find something that implicates people the board wants to protect? You report it anyway. That's the job. She was quiet, thinking. Then she looked at Mira. Your dad's asking me to do something that might blow up in both our faces. Mira looked up from her tablet. Is it the right thing to do? Yeah, I think so. Then you should do it. Lena smiled. It was small but genuine. That's simple, huh? That's what my dad always says. If it's right, you do it, even if it's hard. Lena looked at Adrian. Smart kid. She has her moments. Lena stood, walked to the window, looked out over the city. If I do this, I need one thing. What? When we find the truth, and we will find it, you have to let it go public. No backroom settlements, no quiet exits. The people responsible get named.
That might include people I used to work with, people I liked. I know. And you're okay with that? She turned. I'm okay with the truth. Whatever it looks like. Adrian nodded. Then we have a deal. She walked back to the table, held out her hand. He shook it. When do I start? She asked. Monday. I'll have HR send over the paperwork. And what do I do until then? Go home. Rest. Enjoy your last few days before everything gets complicated. Lena picked up her bag, looked at Mira. Your dad's a good guy. Don't let him forget that. I won't, Mira said. Lena left. Adrian sat in the conference room with his daughter and felt the pieces clicking into place. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and maybe that was enough. Dad, Mira said. Yeah? Are you fixing things? He looked at her serious face and her tablet forgotten in her lap. I'm trying, he said. Good. She went back to her game, and Adrian opened his laptop and started building the team that would take Veil Systems apart and put it back together the right way. Lena started Monday at 8 a.m. sharp. Adrian met her in the lobby with a badge and a laptop and a cup of coffee from the place across the street that actually knew how to brew it. You remembered, she said, taking the cup. You mentioned it once, 3 years ago. You were complaining to another maintenance worker about the break room coffee tasting like burnt plastic. She stared at him. You remember a random conversation from 3 years ago? I remember a lot of things. Comes with the territory of watching everything. They took the elevator to 14th. The floor had been reorganized over the weekend. A small section near the windows had been cleared out. 4 desks, whiteboards on wheels, a server rack in the corner that hummed quietly. Adrian's team space. It was empty except for one person. Martinez, the engineer from the server room. She looked up when they entered. You actually showed up, Martinez said to Lena. You sound surprised. After what happened last week, I figured you'd tell Veil and the whole company to go to hell. I considered it. Lena set her bag down. Why are you here? Martinez glanced at Adrian. He asked me to transfer, said he was building a team to audit the technical infrastructure, find everything that's broken and fix it properly. She smiled. Sounded better than what I was doing. Which was? Sitting in meetings where people argued about things they didn't understand while pretending the code wasn't falling apart. Lena nodded. Yeah, that sounds worse. Adrian pulled up a chair. Okay, ground rules. We're not here to make friends, we're here to find the truth. That means pulling apart deployments, reading through years of documentation, and documenting every shortcut, every corner cut, every place where someone chose speed over safety. People are going to hate us, Martinez said. Probably. And we're going to find things that implicate people still working here. Definitely. Good. Martinez cracked her knuckles. When do we start? Adrian pulled up a spreadsheet. I've been building a list. Every major deployment over the last 4 years, every system upgrade, every patch. We're going to review them all. Lena leaned over, scanned the list. This is going to take months. Then we'd better get started. They worked in silence for the first hour, each of them taking sections of the deployment history, reading logs, checking code repositories, making notes. The rhythm settled quickly. Martinez was fast, aggressive with her searching. Lena was methodical, careful. Adrian moved between them, answering questions, pulling up archived versions when they needed comparison points. At 10:15, Martinez stopped. Found something. Adrian looked over. What? Patch deployment from 18 months ago. System update for the client portal. Authorization shows it went through standard review, but when I pull the actual code changes, half the security protocols are missing. Who approved it? Martinez scrolled. Carter. Leon Carter. Lena came over. Looked at the screen. Same pattern as AV-17. Yeah, Martinez highlighted the changes. The original design had multi-factor authentication, encryption on all data transfers, session timeout protocols. The deployed version has basic password protection and nothing else. Adrian pulled up the deployment timeline. When did this go live? March 14th, last year. Were there any incidents after deployment? Martinez checked the incident logs. Her face went still. Yeah, 3 weeks later, unauthorized access attempt on 14 client accounts. The security team flagged it as a potential breach, but couldn't confirm how the attacker got in. Because the security protocols weren't there, Lena said quietly, and nobody knew to look for them because the deployment was marked as approved and reviewed. Adrian sat back. Did they catch who did it? No, the investigation went cold. They updated some passwords and moved on. Adrian made a note. Add it to the list. We need to document every incident that might trace back to one of these compromised deployments. They kept working. By lunch, they'd found 4 more, each one following the same pattern. Solid original design, gutted implementation. Leon's authorization. Incidents that followed weeks or months later, never quite severe enough to trigger a full investigation, but significant enough to cause damage. At 12:30, Jessica Rahman appeared in the doorway. How's it going? We found 6 compromised deployments so far, Adrian said, all authorized by Leon Carter, all followed by security incidents or system failures. Jessica stepped inside, closed the door. I need you to stop. The room went silent. Excuse me, Adrian said. The board met this morning. Legal is concerned that if you keep digging, we're creating evidence that could be used against the company in a lawsuit. That's the point. We're documenting what happened so it can be fixed. I understand, but legal wants to handle this through official channels. They're bringing in an outside firm to conduct the investigation. How long will that take? Weeks? Maybe months. Adrian stood. Jessica, we've been working for 4 hours, and we've already found half a dozen incidents. How many more are buried in this system? How many clients got compromised because Leon stripped out security features? I know. And that's exactly why legal wants professionals handling it. People who understand liability and discovery and people who will bury anything that makes the company look bad, Lena said. Jessica looked at her. That's not what this is. Then what is it? It's damage control. If we self-report too aggressively, we expose ourselves to regulatory scrutiny, lawsuits, loss of client trust. You're already exposed, Martinez said. The breaches happen. The failures happen. Whether you document them or not doesn't change that. But how we document them matters. Jessica looked at Adrian. I'm not asking you to stop permanently. I'm asking you to pause while legal gets framework in place. And in the meantime, keep building your team. Work on current systems. Make sure nothing else is vulnerable, but don't keep digging into the past until we have legal cover. Adrian felt the old familiar weight settling on his shoulders. The pressure to be quiet, to wait, to let someone else control the narrative. No, he said. Jessica blinked. What? I said no. This is exactly what happened 3 years ago. Something broke. People wanted to investigate, and legal stepped in and made it go away quietly. I'm not doing that again. Adrian, I'm trying to protect the company. The company doesn't need protection. It needs accountability. Those aren't mutually exclusive. They are when legal's job is to minimize exposure instead of exposing the truth. Jessica's expression hardened. I'm not the enemy here. I know. But you're letting the wrong people make the call. I'm following board direction. Then the board's wrong. They stared at each other. The silence stretched. Finally, Jessica shook her head. I can't stop you. Technically, you have the authority to access all this documentation. But I'm telling you, if you keep pushing and it blows up, I can't protect you. I'm not asking you to. Jessica looked at Lena and Martinez. You two understand what he's doing. He's putting his job on the line. Yours too, by extension. Martinez shrugged. I've had worse jobs. Lena said nothing, just met Jessica's gaze and didn't blink. Jessica sighed. Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. She left. The door closed. Adrian sat down, felt his hands shaking slightly. He pressed them flat on the desk. That was dumb, Martinez said. Yeah, we're going to get fired. Probably. Cool. Just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. She went back to her screen, kept working. Lena pulled her chair closer to Adrian, spoke quietly. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did. Why? Because 3 years ago, I let them make me quiet, and it cost me everything. I'm not making that mistake again. She studied his face. You're angrier than you pretend to be. Everyone's angrier than they pretend to be. I'm just tired of pretending. She nodded, went back to her desk, started typing. They worked through lunch, through the afternoon. By 5 p.m., they documented 11 compromised deployments, each one a small disaster waiting to happen. Some had already happened. Others were still live in the system, vulnerabilities just sitting there. At 5:47, Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Yeah? Mr. Vale? A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Who's this? Diane Foster. I'm with Morrison and Blake. We're the law firm the board hired to investigate the recent technical incidents. Okay. I understand you've been conducting your own review of deployment records. That's right. I need you to stop and turn over all documentation you've gathered to my team. Adrian leaned back in his chair. Why? Because this is now an official investigation, and any evidence needs to be handled through proper legal channels. I'm not collecting evidence. I'm auditing systems. The result is the same. You're documenting incidents that could expose the company to liability. The incidents already exposed the company. I'm just writing them down. Mr. Vale, I appreciate your diligence, but you're not an attorney. You don't understand how discovery works. If you continue to create documentation without legal oversight, you could inadvertently waive privilege or create material that's subject to subpoena. Good. Silence on the line. Excuse me? I said good. If someone subpoenas this stuff, they should get it. The truth doesn't need privilege. That's not how corporate legal strategy works. Then maybe corporate legal strategy is part of the problem. Another pause. When Foster spoke again, her voice was colder. I'm going to be very clear. If you continue this investigation without cooperating with my team, I will recommend to the board that you be placed on administrative leave pending review of your conduct. Adrian felt something shift in his chest. The old fear. The old pattern. They were doing it again. Threatening him. Trying to make him back down. But this time he had something he didn't have before. Proof. Documentation. And 2 people sitting 10 feet away who'd heard every word. Do what you need to do, Adrian said. I'm not stopping. He hung up. Martinez looked over. That sounded fun. Company lawyer wants us to hand over everything and shut up. What did you tell her? No. You really are trying to get fired. Starting to look that way. Lena stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city. They're going to come after us. All of us. I know. We should document that too. Create a record of every threat, every attempt to shut this down. Adrian looked at her. You want to build a case against the company you just started working for? I want to build a case for the truth, wherever it leads. Martinez pulled out her phone, started recording. For the record, today is Monday, October 16th. The time is 5:52 p.m. Adrian Vale just received a call from Diane Foster of Morrison and Blake, threatening administrative leave if we continue our systems audit. This is me documenting that threat. She stopped recording, looked at Adrian. What else? Adrian felt something like pride, or maybe just relief, that he wasn't alone in this. Everything, he said. We document everything. They worked until 8 p.m., built a timeline, cross-referenced incidents with deployments, created a shared drive with all the evidence, encrypted, backed up to 3 separate locations. When they finally left, the building was mostly empty. They rode the elevator down together, walked out into the rain. You have a car? Adrian asked Lena. Bus. I'll give you a ride. You don't have to. I know. Get in. She did. Martinez waved and headed to her own car. Adrian drove through the wet streets. Lena gave him directions to an apartment building in a neighborhood that had seen better decades. "You live here?" Adrian asked. "It's what I can afford. On your new salary, you could do better." "Haven't gotten a paycheck yet. Can't exactly put down first and last on a promise." He pulled up to the curb. She started to get out, then stopped. "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for not backing down. Thank the lawyer, she's the one who made it easy." "I'm serious, most people would have caved." "I'm not most people." "No, you're not." She got out, closed the door, walked to the building entrance. Adrian sat there for a moment, watched her disappear inside. Then he drove home. Mira was already asleep. The neighbor who watched her on late nights was reading on the couch. Adrian paid her, thanked her, locked the door after she left. He checked on Mira. She was curled up with her rabbit, breathing steady. He stood in the doorway and felt the weight of what he'd started. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about Lena and Martinez, about every engineer who'd been blamed for someone else's mistakes, about the clients who'd trusted Veil systems to keep their data safe and got betrayal instead. He went to the kitchen, opened his laptop, started writing, not code this time. A memo, addressed to the board, documenting everything they'd found, every compromised deployment, every incident, every pattern that pointed back to Leon Carter's systematic gutting of security protocols. He attached the evidence, the logs, the code comparisons, the timeline. Then he wrote one more paragraph. "I understand legal wants to control this process. I understand the board is concerned about liability, but I'm more concerned about the truth. The clients who trusted us deserved better than what they got. The engineers who were blamed for failures they didn't cause deserved better, and the company deserves to know what actually happened so it never happens again. I'm not stopping this investigation. If that costs me my job, so be it, but at least the record will be clear." He read it over, deleted the last two sentences. Too dramatic. Replaced them with something simpler. "This is what I found. This is what I know. Do with it what you will." He hit send at 11:23 p.m. Then he closed the laptop and went to bed. His phone woke him at 6:47 a.m. "Jessica." "You sent the memo," she said. No greeting. "Yeah." "To the entire board." "That's who it was addressed to." "Adrian, what were you thinking?" "I was thinking they needed to see the evidence. You just handed legal a nightmare. Half the board is panicking. The other half wants your head. And the CEO is demanding a meeting at 9 a.m. Okay? Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, that I'm sorry? I'm not. They needed to see it." Jessica was quiet for a moment. "You're not making this easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be right. Those things aren't always compatible." "Then I'll take right," she sighed. 9 a.m. conference room, B. "Don't be late." She hung up. Adrian got up, made coffee, woke Mira, got her ready for school, dropped her off. She asked if he was okay. He lied and said yes. At 8:53 a.m., he walked into conference room B. The CEO was there. Robert Chen, 58. Gray hair, expensive suit. He'd been brought in 2 years ago to stabilize the company after Adrian's departure. He looked up when Adrian entered. "Mr. Vale?" "Mr. Chen." "Sit." Adrian sat. Jessica was there. 3 other board members. The lawyer Foster, on speakerphone. Chen folded his hands on the table. "I've read your memo." "Good. It's concerning." "It should be. What I mean is, it's concerning that you chose to send this to the entire board without consulting legal or going through proper channels." "Proper channels would have buried it." "You don't know that." "I do, actually, because it's what happened 3 years ago." Chen's expression didn't change. That was a different situation. It was the same situation with different names. "Mr. Vale, I appreciate your passion for transparency, but you're not the CEO. You're not general counsel. You're chief architect. Your job is to fix technical problems, not to conduct investigations or make legal determinations. My job is to make sure this company's systems are secure. I can't do that if I'm not allowed to look at how they got compromised." Foster's voice came through the speaker. Mr. Vale, the board hired an independent firm to handle this investigation. Your continued interference is undermining that process. I'm not interfering, I'm documenting. Without legal oversight, without understanding the implications. I understand the implications fine. The company deployed insecure systems, clients got breached, people got blamed who didn't deserve it, and now you want to bury it quietly so nobody asks hard questions. That's not what we're doing, Chen said. Then what are you doing? We're trying to conduct a thorough investigation without exposing the company to unnecessary legal risk. The risk already exists. I'm just making it visible. Chen sat back. Adrian, I'm going to be direct. The board values your technical expertise, but your approach to this situation is creating problems. If you can't work within the framework we've established, we'll need to reconsider your role. There it was. The threat. Clean, professional, wrapped in corporate language. Adrian looked around the table. Jessica wouldn't meet his eyes. The other board members looked uncomfortable. Foster on the speakerphone was silent, waiting. I'm not going to stop, Adrian said. Then we have a problem, Chen said. We had a problem before I sent that memo. I just made sure everyone could see it. You made sure everyone could see what you think happened. That's not the same as an objective investigation. Pull the logs yourself. Compare the code. It's all there. I didn't make any of it up. I'm not questioning your data. I'm questioning your judgment and how you're handling it. Adrian stood. You want my judgment? Here it is. Leon Carter systematically compromised this company's security for 3 years. He blamed engineers when things failed. He covered his tracks. And he would have kept doing it if Lena Brooks hadn't stopped him. That's not opinion. That's fact. And if you're more worried about legal exposure than about fixing what he broke, then you're part of the problem. The room went very quiet. Chen's expression hardened. Mr. Vale, I think we're done here. Yeah, I think we are. Adrian walked out. His hands were steady. His breath was even. He felt oddly calm. Jessica caught up with him at the elevator. Adrian, wait. I'm not apologizing. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to think about what you just did. I told the truth. You told the CEO of a $7 billion company that he's part of the problem, in front of the board. He is. That's not the point. Then what is? She stepped closer, lowered her voice. The point is, you can't win this by yourself. You need allies. You need the board on your side, and you just burned half of them. They were never on my side. They proved that 3 years ago. Some of them were. Some of them fought for you. But you're making it really hard for us to keep fighting. Adrian looked at her. What do you want from me, Jessica? I want you to be smart, strategic. Use the system instead of fighting it. The system is designed to protect itself, not to find the truth. Then change it from the inside, but you can't do that if you get yourself fired. The elevator arrived. Adrian stepped in. If they fire me, they fire me. At least the evidence is out there. Evidence doesn't matter if nobody acts on it. The doors started to close. Jessica put her hand out. Stop them. Just think about it, she said. Please. The doors closed. Adrian rode down to the lobby, walked out into the rain, got in his car, sat there. His phone buzzed. A text from Lena. Martinez and I are still working. Found 3 more. You okay? He typed back. Define okay. Her response came fast. Still employed? For now. Good enough. Get back here. We need you to look at something. He started the car and drove back to the building he'd just left. Because whatever happened next, at least he wasn't alone in it. When Adrian got back to the 14th floor, Lena and Martinez were standing at the whiteboard. Someone had drawn a network diagram in blue marker, lines connecting boxes, dates scribbled in the margins. It looked like a murder board from a crime show. That took you 20 minutes, Martinez said without looking up. Meeting went that well? CEO basically told me to shut up or get out. And you said? I walked out. Classic. She capped the marker, turned. Okay, you need to see this. Adrian approached the board. The diagram showed deployment timelines. But there was something else. Red lines connecting certain dates. Arrows pointing to external events. What am I looking at? Adrian asked. Lena pointed to one of the red connections. We found something. A pattern we missed before. What kind of pattern? Timing. Every compromised deployment happened right before a major contract negotiation or client review. Adrian stepped closer, scanned the dates. She was right. The client portal breach. 3 weeks before Vail Systems pitched a major banking contract. The validation buffer removal. 2 weeks before quarterly earnings reports. The AV-17 deployment. Hours before the investors' summit. He was sabotaging on purpose, Adrian said quietly. Not exactly. Martinez pulled up a laptop, showed him a spreadsheet. Look at what happened after each incident. The banking contract negotiation stalled, but then Leon came in with a simplified security model, pitched it as innovative, as cutting-edge efficiency. They signed. The earnings report showed system vulnerabilities, but Leon spun it as an opportunity for upgrades. Stock price dipped, then recovered when he announced the new architecture plan, and the investors' summit crashed. But Leon blamed you, positioned himself as the guy who could fix it, and got promoted 6 months later. Adrian felt something cold settle in his stomach. He wasn't just cutting corners. He was creating problems so he could solve them. And take credit for the solutions. Yeah, Lena crossed her arms. It's actually kind of brilliant. Horrible, but brilliant. We need to prove this, Adrian said. Timeline alone isn't enough. We need communication records. Evidence he planned it. Martinez was already typing. Way ahead of you. I pulled his email archives, everything the company has on record. She turned the screen. Look at this. 2 weeks before the client portal deployment, Leon sent an email to his assistant asking her to schedule meetings with 3 board members. Subject line, New Security Framework Proposal. He drafted the solution before he created the problem, Lena said. And here, Martinez scrolled. 5 days before the AV-17 deployment, he sent himself a calendar reminder. Quote, prepare summit recovery plan. End quote. Adrian read the email timestamp, his hands clenched. He knew it was going to fail. He deployed it knowing it would crash, just so he could look like the hero when he fixed it. And blamed you in the process, Martinez said. 2 birds, 1 incredibly messed up stone. Adrian sat down. The room felt smaller, hotter. 3 years. 3 years of exile. Of Mira asking why they lived in a small apartment. Of cleaning toilets in his own building. Of being erased. All of it deliberate, calculated, planned. Adrian, Lena's voice cut through. You still with us? Yeah. We need to decide what to do with this. We document it, add it to the evidence. The board already told you to stop. I don't care. They'll fire you. Then they fire me. Martinez closed her laptop. Okay, but before you go full martyr, maybe we should think about strategy. Because right now, we have evidence. But if you get fired, who's going to make sure it actually matters? Adrian looked at her. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we find someone who can't be fired. Someone outside the company who has the authority to investigate and prosecute if warranted. Like who? Like the SEC or the Department of Justice. If Leon's actions affected stock prices or client contracts, that's securities fraud. That's criminal. Lena shook her head. Going to federal investigators means we lose control of the narrative. They'll take over, freeze everything. The company could get destroyed in the process. The company's already compromised, Martinez said. Maybe it deserves to be destroyed. And what about everyone who works here? The engineers who had nothing to do with this? The people in HR and facilities and client services who are just trying to do their jobs? What about them? Martinez shot back. You want to protect a system that protected Leon Carter for 3 years while he destroyed people's careers? I want to fix it, not burn it down. They stared at each other. Adrian could feel the tension rising. 2 people who wanted the same thing but couldn't agree on how to get there. Stop, he said. They both looked at him. We're not going to the feds, not yet. He stood, walked to the whiteboard. But we're not stopping either. We finish the documentation, we build the complete picture, and then we take it to someone who can actually do something about it. Who? Lena asked. Adrian thought about it. About the board members who'd looked uncomfortable during the meeting. About Jessica fighting to keep him in the room. About the engineers who'd watched him code in the server room and leaned in, hungry for something real. The people who care, he said, the ones who haven't been compromised yet. Over the next 3 days, they worked in near silence, documenting, cross-referencing, building a case that was airtight and undeniable. They found 17 compromised deployments, 14 incidents, 53 emails showing premeditation, and a pattern so clear it was almost obscene. On Thursday afternoon, someone leaked their work to the press. Adrian got the alert on his phone at 2:17 p.m. A tech news site had published an article titled Veil Systems Insider Claims Systematic Security Failures. It quoted anonymous sources, referenced deployment timelines, named Leon Carter specifically. His phone rang immediately. Jessica. "Please tell me you didn't leak this," she said.
I didn't. Then who did? I don't know. Martinez and Lena are the only ones with access.
Find out. Because the board is losing their minds and legal is threatening to sue everyone in sight. She hung up. Adrian turned to his team. "Did either of you talk to the press?" Martinez looked offended. "No." Lena shook her head. "I wouldn't even know who to call." "Then someone else has access to our files." "That's impossible. We encrypted everything." "Clearly not impossible." Lena pulled up the shared drive, checked the access logs. Her face went pale. "Someone logged in this morning, 3:47 a.m., downloaded everything." "Who?" She scrolled. The login credentials belonged to Robert Chen, the CEO. Adrian sat down, felt the pieces rearranging. He leaked it himself. "Why would he do that?" Martinez asked. "Because legal was going to bury it. The board was going to handle it quietly. But if it's public, they don't have a choice anymore. They have to act." "That's insane," Lena said. "That's strategy." Adrian almost laughed. It was brilliant in a cold, calculating way. Chen had been listening during that meeting, watching, and he'd made a call. If the truth was coming out anyway, better to control the timing. Better to look like the company was confronting it than trying to hide it. Within an hour, every major tech publication had picked up the story. By evening, it was trending on social media. Former employees started coming forward, engineers who'd been quietly pushed out, clients who'd experienced breaches they were told weren't serious. The narrative shifted fast. Veil Systems wasn't just a company with technical problems. It was a company that had systematically covered up security failures while blaming the people who tried to fix them. At 6:47 p.m., the board announced Leon Carter's termination, not suspension, termination, for cause, with a recommendation that the matter be referred to appropriate authorities for investigation. Adrian read the statement on his phone while standing in his daughter's school parking lot waiting for pickup. Mira came out a few minutes later, climbed in the car. "You look weird," she said. "Weird how?" "Like you can't decide if you're happy or sad." He pulled out of the lot. "That's pretty accurate." "Did something happen?" "Yeah, something big. I'll tell you about it later." They drove home. He made dinner, helped her with homework, put her to bed. And then he sat on the couch with his laptop and watched the story spread across the internet. People were angry, at Leon, at the board, at the company. But they were also asking questions. How did this happen? How did one person get away with this for so long? Who else knew? His phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "We did this." He typed back. "Yeah." "You okay with how it went down?" He thought about it. About Chen leaking the files. About losing control of the investigation. About the chaos that was probably coming. "No." "But it's done. What happens now?" "I don't know." He set the phone down, closed his eyes, felt exhaustion settling deep into his bones. The next morning, Jessica called him at 7:03 a.m. "The board wants to meet with you." "When?" "Today. Noon. And Adrian, this isn't a fight. They want to talk about what comes next." "What does that mean?" "It means show up and listen. Can you do that?" "Yeah, I can do that." At noon, he walked into the same conference room where Chen had threatened him 4 days earlier. The entire board was there. 12 people, Jessica at the head of the table. "Mr. Vale," she said. "Thank you for coming." He sat, said nothing. Chen spoke first. "I owe you an apology. When you sent that memo, I treated it as insubordination. I should have treated it as evidence." Adrian waited. "The information you compiled has been turned over to both the SEC and the Justice Department. They've opened formal investigations. Leon Carter is facing potential criminal charges. And we're conducting a full review of every deployment, every contract, every decision made under his oversight. That's good, Adrian said carefully. We also need to address the damage this has caused to the company, to our clients, to the employees who were blamed for failures they didn't cause. Chen paused. We'd like you to lead that effort. Adrian blinked. What? Jessica leaned forward. We're creating a new role, Chief Security Officer, focused entirely on rebuilding trust, fixing systems, making sure this never happens again. We want you. I thought I was Chief Architect. You still are. This would be an addition, with a different team, different mandate. That's 2 full-time jobs. We know. Which is why we're offering whatever support you need, staff, budget, authority. You'd report directly to the board, no intermediaries. Adrian looked around the table. These were the same people who'd exiled him 3 years ago. The same people who'd let Leon operate unchecked. Now they wanted him to fix it. Why should I trust you? He asked. The room went quiet. You shouldn't, one of the board members said. Older woman, gray hair, sharp eyes. Adrian didn't know her name. We failed you. We failed this company, and we're asking you to trust us anyway because you're the only person who knows how to fix what we broke. That's not an answer. It's the only honest one I have. Adrian sat back. I need guarantees. What kind? Jessica asked. Lena Brooks and Martinez get permanent positions. Protected. No retaliation. No quiet exits. Done. I want full transparency. Every decision I make gets documented. Every finding gets reported to the board. No more backroom deals. Agreed. And I want protection for whistleblowers. Anyone who comes forward with evidence of misconduct gets legal support and job security. No NDAs, no settlements that buy silence. Chen nodded. We can put that in writing. One more thing, Adrian said. I want the names. Every engineer who was pushed out over the last 5 years. Every person who got blamed for something Leon did. I want them contacted, offered settlements, apologies, whatever they need to make it right. That could be expensive, someone said. I don't care. It's the cost of doing business honestly. Jessica smiled. Is that a yes? Adrian thought about Mira, about the trust fund that was secure now, about the future he could build for her, about the engineers who'd been erased and the clients who'd been betrayed and the system that had protected the wrong people for too long. He thought about Lena standing in the server room at 2 a.m., risking everything because it was right. He thought about 3 years in the shadows and what it cost to step back into the light. Yeah, he said. It's a yes. 3 weeks later, a small metal nameplate appeared on a desk on the 32nd floor. It said Lena Brooks, Senior Systems Analyst in simple black letters. No fanfare, no announcement, just truth, finally given space. Adrian found her there on a Tuesday morning, standing in front of the desk like she wasn't sure it was real. It's yours, he said. She touched the nameplate. This is weird. Good weird or bad weird? I don't know yet. Martinez walked past carrying coffee. Get used to it, Brooks. You're one of us now. That's supposed to be reassuring? Not even a little. Martinez disappeared into the server room. Lena turned to Adrian. I keep waiting for someone to tell me I don't belong here. You do belong here. How do you know? Because you see what's broken, and you're not afraid to say it. She was quiet for a moment. Then, what about you? Do you belong here? Adrian looked around. At the engineers working. At the whiteboards covered in diagrams. At the building he'd created and lost and somehow found his way back to. I'm working on it, he said. That evening, after everyone else had left, Adrian stood on the rooftop of Vale Systems. It was the same space where executives used to hold summer parties, where he'd once celebrated the company's first major contract, where he'd felt untouchable and certain. The rain had stopped. The city stretched out below, lights reflecting off wet streets. He heard footsteps behind him. Lena. You're here late, he said. So are you. I come up here sometimes. To think. She joined him at the railing, looked out. About what? About how things break? How they get fixed? How you know when something's worth saving? And I think most things are worth saving. They just need people who care enough to do the work. She nodded. My mom used to say the hardest part of fixing something is admitting it's broken in the first place. Smart woman. She was a mechanic, fixed cars in our garage. She'd spend hours on engines everyone else said were totaled, and most of the time she'd get them running again. What happened to her? Cancer, 6 years ago. I'm sorry. Lena shrugged. She taught me everything that matters. How to see what's wrong, how to not give up, how to know the difference between broken and just badly maintained. Adrian pulled something from his pocket, the marker, the same one he'd handed her in the conference room weeks ago when she'd drawn the system from memory and changed everything. This is yours, he said. She took it, turned it over in her hands. Why are you giving me this? Because I'm not good at speeches, but I wanted you to know that what you did, stopping that deployment, standing up when it cost you everything, that mattered. It changed things. It changed me. I just did what needed doing. That's the point. Most people don't. They see the problem and they look away, or they wait for someone else to handle it. You didn't. Lena looked at the marker. You think I'm some kind of hero? No. I think you're someone who refused to be invisible. That's harder than being a hero. She smiled. It was small and real. You know what the worst part was? All those years doing maintenance, having people walk past me like I was furniture, like I didn't matter. I got good at it, being nothing. You were never nothing. To them I was. Then they weren't looking. She met his eyes. And you were? Yeah, I was watching everything. That's how I saw you. They stood in silence. The city hummed below. Somewhere a siren wailed. Somewhere someone was probably having the worst day of their life. Somewhere else, someone was having the best. What happens now? Lena asked. We fix what's broken. We build something better. We make sure people like Leon can't do this again. That's optimistic. It's realistic. Systems only work if people maintain them, if they care. We care, so we maintain. What if we fail? Then we fail trying. That's better than not trying at all. Lena tucked the marker in her pocket. My mom had this saying, you can't fix everything, but you can fix something, so fix something. I like that. Yeah, me too. They walked back inside together, down the stairs, through the building, past the cubicles where engineers had already gone home to families and lives outside these walls, past the break room where someone had left a birthday cake half eaten, past the lobby where Marcus, the security guard, waved goodnight. In the parking garage, they stopped at their cars. See you tomorrow? Lena said. Yeah, 8 a.m. We're reviewing the authentication protocols. Fun. It's work. Doesn't have to be fun. Does it have to mean something? Adrian thought about Mira, about the years hiding, about the moment he chose to step forward, about the people who'd stood with him when it mattered. Yeah, he said. It has to mean something. Lena got in her car. So did Adrian. They drove out into the night, separate directions, separate lives, but connected by the work they'd chosen and the truth they'd refused to let die. 4 months later, on a February morning that was cold and clear, Adrian walked Mira to school. She'd grown 3 inches, started asking harder questions, stopped believing every answer he gave. Dad, she said at the crosswalk, that thing you did, at work, when you found out someone was doing bad things. Yeah? Was it hard telling people? Really hard. But you did it anyway. Yeah. Why what? He looked down at her serious face and her backpack too big for her shoulders. Because some things are more important than being comfortable, like being honest, like standing up when something's wrong. Even if it costs you, especially then. She thought about that. I told my teacher that Dylan was cheating on the test. And now Dylan's mad at me, and some of the other kids are too. How do you feel about it? Bad, but also okay, because it was the right thing. Adrian knelt down, looked her in the eyes. That feeling, that bad but okay feeling, that's how you know you did the right thing. If it felt easy, if everyone liked you for it, you'd have to wonder if it actually mattered. So doing the right thing is supposed to feel bad? Not bad, just hard, and lonely sometimes. But that's okay, because the alternative is worse. What's the alternative? Being the kind of person who sees something wrong and looks away. And Bug, you're not that person. You never will be. She hugged him. He hugged back, felt her small arms around his neck and something in his chest that was too big for words. "Love you, Dad." "Love you too." She ran into school. He watched her disappear through the doors, stood there for a moment. Then he walked back to his car and drove to work. At Vale Systems, things were different now. Not perfect. Perfect was impossible, but different, better. The security protocols had been rebuilt, every system audited, every vulnerability documented and fixed. It had taken months. It would take more. But the work was happening. Engineers who'd been pushed out were being contacted. Some came back, some didn't, but they all got apologies, real ones, and compensation for the years they'd lost. Leon Carter was facing trial. Securities fraud, criminal negligence, conspiracy. The case was strong. Adrian had been deposed twice. He told the truth, all of it. It felt right. On the 32nd floor, Lena's team had grown to 8 people. They called themselves the Audit Squad, half joking, half serious. They were good. They cared. They didn't look away. Adrian found her that afternoon in the server room, staring at a monitor. "Problem?" he asked. "Just checking something. Deployment went live this morning. I wanted to make sure it's stable." And it's fine. Better than fine. It's actually working the way it's supposed to. Imagine that. She smiled. "We built something that works. On purpose. With all the safety features intact. It's almost disappointing how boring it is." "Boring is good. Boring means nobody's cutting corners." "Yeah." She closed the laptop, looked at him. "You know what's weird?" "What?" "I don't feel invisible anymore. I walk through this building and people actually see me. They ask my opinion. They listen. It's disorienting." "Get used to it." "I'm trying." She paused. "Thank you for that." "I didn't do anything. You made yourself visible. You gave me the space to do it." They stood in the quiet hum of the servers, the machines that held everything. The data, the code, the infrastructure that connected thousands of people to work that mattered. "Adrian," Lena said, "do you think we actually fixed it? Or are we just putting Band-Aids on something that's going to break again?" He thought about it, about the meetings and the documentation and the policies they'd implemented, about the engineers they'd trained and the culture they were trying to build. "I think we fixed some of it," he said, "and we're watching the rest. That's all anyone can do. Build, maintain, watch for cracks, fix them when they appear." "That's not very inspiring." "It's honest." "Yeah." She looked at the servers. "Honest works." Adrian left the building at 6 p.m., drove home, made dinner for Mira, helped with homework, sat on the couch and read while she drew pictures of buildings and machines and systems she was just beginning to understand. Later, after she'd gone to bed, he stood at the window and looked out at the city, at the lights and the rain and the endless motion of people living their lives. He thought about the years he'd spent invisible, cleaning floors in his own building, watching from the shadows, protecting what he'd built while everyone forgot he existed. He thought about stepping back into the light, about the cost and the risk and the moment he'd decided it was worth it. He thought about Lena, about Martinez, about the engineers who were rebuilding systems the right way, about the clients who were trusting them again, about the slow, hard work of making something broken into something whole. Nobody was going to write songs about it. There wouldn't be a parade. Most people would never know what happened in the server room at 2 a.m. or in the conference rooms where the real battles were fought. But that was okay, because the work wasn't about recognition. It was about doing the thing that needed doing, about refusing to look away, about being the person who stood up when it cost something. Adrian had spent years being invisible. Lena had spent years being unseen. And together they'd stepped into a light that wasn't comfortable or easy or perfect. But it was theirs. Built from truth. Held together by work that mattered. And that was enough. In the morning, they'd go back to the office. They'd review code. They'd fix systems. They'd argue about architecture and debate protocols and push back when someone tried to cut corners. They'd do the work, day after day. Not because it was glamorous, but because it needed doing. Because they'd learned that the hardest thing in the world isn't building something great. It's maintaining it, protecting it, refusing to let it become something less than what it was meant to be. And maybe that was the real lesson. Not that good people win, or that truth prevails, or that justice is inevitable. but that every day someone has to choose, to see what's broken, to care enough to fix it, to stand up even when it's hard and lonely and costs everything. Someone has to be the person who doesn't look away. And if you're lucky, you find others who won't look away either. Then you do the work. Together. Imperfect and human and real. And somewhere in that work, you find something worth protecting. Not perfection, not glory, just the stubborn refusal to let the truth be erased. That was what Adrian had learned, what Lena had proven, what they were building together, one system at a time, one line of code, one choice to stand instead of hide. It wasn't the ending anyone expected, but it was the ending they'd earned. And in the quiet spaces between the work and the worry, in the moments when exhaustion lifted just enough to breathe, they knew it mattered. That had to be enough, because it was all anyone ever really had.